Fault in Our Stars, Looking for Alaska, and now Paper Towns. I think I have a problem. Hello once again, readers of good books. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my white room. Now, today I am reviewing the book Paper Towns by John Green. This is the third John Green novel that I have read and reviewed, and so I will be talking about it. I will very briefly go into the ending of the book towards the end of the video, so if you have read Paper Towns and want to see what I thought of the ending, stay tuned for that bit. I will put a little spoiler warning in there right before I do go into it though, so if you have not finished Paper Towns, you need not worry. So the story is written in the first person, and it is through the eyes of a boy named Quentin. He is a senior in his high school, and he is very much in his little routine. He goes to school, he comes home, he does homework, and he chats with his friends online, then repeats the day over and over and over. And he does this until a girl who he's had a crush on since he was like 10 appears at his window just randomly one night. She has lived next to him for his whole life, and her name is Margot. And the first part of the book is split into 3 different parts. It focuses on that one night, and it focuses on what Margot kind of drags Quentin into doing. She's a very rebellious person. She enjoys kind of just doing what she wants, doesn't really care about the consequences, just wants to kind of live a full life and not be held down by restrictions. And so the night is filled with her kind of getting revenge on certain people and just doing different types of things, like going up to the tallest tower in the city or breaking into SeaWorld. And so that's the first half of the book. And then Margot disappears, and that's what the majority of the story deals with, is Quentin trying to find her with clues that she leaves behind, and him just recruiting his friends to help with this whole thing. And so the majority of the book takes place after Margot has left and him trying to track her down. I thought that this worked somewhat well. It made for something of an interesting story. I just felt that it was a little more dragged out than it needed to be, because I honestly started to get bored about halfway through the book when it was just kind of a repetitious thing, and it didn't really seem like we were getting any closer to finding Margot. And so that just kind of annoyed me, especially when clues ended up not really helping the whole situation, which made me question why they were even brought up in the first place. In terms of themes for this book, one major one is the idea that you can't truly know somebody until you look past the image of that person that you have created in your mind for them. So if you are looking at someone from afar, either a crush on someone or just someone that you just generally don't really know that well, you create this perception of that person in your head. And so until you actually get to talk to that person or really dive into what makes them them, you have this altered idea of who they are, and you can't really truly find out who they are until you spend time with them. This was actually kind of a cool theme to me, and it resonated throughout the majority of the novel, especially with looking at who Margot really was. Quentin has this idea of her in his head for however many years, and then it kind of begins to break down after he learns more and more about her. The other theme in this book is kind of just leaving everything behind and taking off. This is mainly dealing with more the end of the book, but also the idea of just escaping the binds that tear someone down and escaping the two-dimensional paper town-esque life that people sometimes fall into in just a remote city or town, which nothing is really going to change. So those are the 2 kind of main themes of this book. They're the themes that John Green kind of focuses on in his story, as far as I could tell. As a whole, though, I did find myself ultimately enjoying Paper Towns and when I ultimately finished it. So there is that. Like I said, I did find myself a little bit bored about in the middle and trying to see how long it was going to take to have something happen. And it does pick up a little bit in the third part, especially when things come to their conclusion. So with that, I will start to talk about the ending to Paper Towns and a little more of the spoiler-esque things in it. So if you have not finished Paper Towns, or you have not started it, or you just don't care about spoilers, probably stop watching here. So in the third part of the book, we have Quentin, Ben, Radar, and Lacey all in this car together, all driving up to New York in order to try and find Margot in this last great effort to find her. And so the last part is broken into hours, and so we see what happens with each hour that these people are in the car. They have a very near-death event that happens when the car is going 70 miles an hour and speeding towards a cow in the middle of the highway, so that was a little interesting. I had no worries that they were going to not make it out alive because the book has more to write and it's written in the first person. So there is that. They do end up finding Margot. She is alive, which I was actually kind of surprised about. If you have read Fault in Our Stars or Looking for Alaska, you know that John Green likes to kill off certain characters, especially main characters. So I was honestly expecting them to find Margot dead, or at least dying of something. And nope, she is alive. Nobody major dies in this book, except for the guy that they find dead at the very, very beginning of the story. I was surprised by that a little bit. I liked the reunion between Quentin and Margot. I thought it was good. They kind of fleshed out the gripes with each other, and we ended up seeing Margot open up to Quentin more than she assumably has with anyone else before, and then she still wants to go off to New York. That was kind of the big thing, and it kind of shatters all of Quentin's imagined results of this whole situation and his whole desperate search to find her. And then it gets the ending. We see Margot about to take off in her car. She's saying her last goodbyes to Quentin, and this is where the story kind of goes open-ended a little bit, because I don't honestly know what happens with Margot and Quentin after the story ends, because she's about to leave, she is tearing up, she looks back, and then I'm assuming she runs back to kiss him, and then that's where the story ends. And so we have no idea if she goes to New York, if Quentin ends up going with her, if she goes back down to Orlando. We have no idea. That is one thing that kind of bugged me, is that we don't really know what happens, because there's this whole big build-up in this third part towards the end when they find Margot, as to she's going to leave, they're going to keep in touch, blah, 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 and then we don't know what happens ultimately to these people. So that kind of bugged me a little bit. Like I said earlier, though, ultimately I did enjoy Paper Towns. I thought it was fine as a novel. It's definitely not John Green's best written novel, in my opinion. I personally still have Looking for Alaska as my top. That's my thoughts on the book. Did you like Paper Towns a little bit more than I did? Did you dislike it a lot more than I did? Also, what's your favorite John Green novel? And do you want me to review 2 more that I have this summer? Oh my god, the summer's been like John Green season for some reason. I read Fault in Our Stars and now I can't stop reading him for some reason. So, yeah, that's my review. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I'd appreciate it very much immensely. Make sure to go check out my short story down in the description down here. There will be a link to the Amazon page where you can go and buy it for 99 cents. And as always, my good people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on reading.